We're gonna go through Makita's cordless cooler and warming box. This dude is pretty awesome. It'll actually turn itself into a freezer, go down to 15 degrees, but you can also take it anywhere basically from 50 down to 15 in 10-degree increments. It'll also be a warming box where it'll go up to 130 or 140 degrees. It'll take up to 2 Makita batteries. It'll work off AC power. It'll work off DC power. Very sweet. We're gonna show you what this thing will do with multiple tests. Stay tuned. Makita's cooler is nice and small, yet still light enough to easily pick up. There is some weight on the business end, and this end is where you're going to get all your cooling from. You have some small wheels on here. As you can see, they'll spin while it's sitting on the ground. There's some rubber underneath, and if you tilt it like that, this thing in the air conditioning mode will turn itself off, but at the same point in time in the heating mode, it's pretty happy to be moved around. You have a handle over here so you can pick it up and roll it. We currently have it plugged in. This will not charge a battery when it is plugged in, but there's a battery in there, so we can unplug it from the DC mode here. And this is a pretty tight fit, especially with one hand, and it's in a little bit of a weird spot because it comes out sort of with an L-shaped adapter, and it's hard to get to because it kind of pushes the tire over and gets in the way there. But it's not bad. I like it because once it's plugged in, it's definitely going to stay plugged in. You do have a bottle opener on this side, which is nice if you're having beer bottles or anything like that. On the other side, we have metal hinges, which I think are absolutely awesome. This is IPX4 rated, at least while you're using the battery it is. So the hinges and everything here are all sealed for the most part, and you do have a little bit of an opening in the cooler section because this is a cooler slash heater. In this gasket here, there's a little break so you can, deal with air temperature fluctuations in pressure if you're going from cold to hot. This will not take any water or ice on the inside of it. That water could drip down inside somehow and get into the electronics, which wouldn't be good. So if you're going to use this, it's going to be something you're probably going to want to pre-cool or put colder things in here and then turn it on. But we're going to do some testing on that just to show you what it'll do and how fast it'll cool some things down, what it'll do at different temperatures and all that stuff. Let's take a little bit more of a look inside. With this guy on the ground, you can see the spots for 2 batteries that you can put in here. Anytime you switch power over, it's going to turn this unit off for about 2 to 3 minutes. It's just going to let the compressor and everything figure out where everything's at, but it actually works out quite well. You can change from Fahrenheit to Celsius here. If we push this button, it tells us we're at 140. We push it again, now it's down to cooling. So we can then change our temperature, 40, 50, 40, 30, 25, and 15. If we switch over to heating, we only have 140 and 130. And that's not bad. It seems to work out quite well. The cooling side has a light in it, which is going to be 12.5 wide, 9.25 depth, and if we took a look at deep, it's 10.5. So I'm figuring about 15 tall boys in there and we're good. Otherwise, if you're going to go with normal 12-ounce cans, you can probably fit somewhere in the realm of 22 of them if you really pack them in there. Let's go through some testing on this and just see what it'll do to cool things down and do different sorts of warming. Test number 1 is a situation where you have 5 16-ounce warm beverages and 4 12-ounce warm beverages. We're going to throw them all in this cooler. We're going to set the cooler up to cool them down, probably in the freezing range. The goal is not only to get the cooler cold, but also to get the beverages down to a cold temperature. We're going to see approximately how long that will take, and we're going to do it with one 5 amp hour battery and see if it'll actually happen. Let's do it. There we go. We are 1 hour, 6 minutes in. We have some frost here on the back. You can see I'm scraping it off. The bottles of water are cool. They're not cold by any means. You can pick up the cans and they're cooler to the touch, but they're definitely not at drinking temperature at this point in time. At an hour and 30 minutes in, we basically lost power to our 5 amp hour battery and the unit shut down. I have it currently running off of DC, off of our power supply, and internally it's very cold. The water, not crazy cold, but it is there. The beer cans, I mean, they're fair. Not ice cold, but definitely drinkable. So hour and a half in, I think that's kind of normal. You have a lot of cold air that's moving around, but you don't have ice that's actually contacting anything in here. And you're not really good to put ice in this cooler to cool things down. So ideally you would put cold things in and allow it to come down to temperature quickly, which it'll do in about 20 minutes and hold things colder. But 2 batteries in here would definitely have extended that runtime while it's cooling. So we went from 63 degrees to what it's saying is 31 in an hour and a half. Now where we would go from there, I'm not 100% sure. Next test, we're going to take these 2 outside, put them in the sun and see what it will do in 20-30 minutes of some decent heat that's going to be put in this and see what it'll hold. So it's a rare 85 degrees here, just the beginning of June in Michigan, and we have this connected and have had it out here for some time. We're getting into the low 20s and at the point where everything inside the water and everything is just starting to freeze. This is getting very cold. If we shake it up, it probably will freeze at that point in time. It's working great out here. I did a little thermal imaging. It's not going to come across good in the camera. The outside of this is about 117 degrees, which isn't bad. There's really no hot spots in it, but it does work outside in the heat. It is limited to work in 122 degree temperatures, so you wouldn't want to be using it in anything that's inside of a vehicle for very long periods of time, maybe down south or anything where it gets really hot. But to that point, in the sunshine outside, working great. So at this point, I removed the canned beverages that are left and I just left the water on the inside. Still very, very cold at this point, and I would say this is just about at the point of freezing. It's telling us that we are at 28 degrees-ish. I've been opening and closing and moving this around. I switched over to AC power. I don't want to deal with the possible loss of DC power or anything like that. We're just going to rock and roll this thing at 30 degrees overnight AC power. Should be able to come back in the morning and see that these water bottles are frozen. So, till then. 16 hours ago, we plugged this cooler into AC power, set the thermostat for 30 degrees and left some water inside here. Now, opening it up today, I'm finding very, very cold water, but not frozen water. Now, I think that's interesting. It's gotta be right there. There's no ice crystals on the inside. Good and bad. Bad for accuracy as far as the thermostat, at least on this model, because that should be froze at 29 degrees is what it's saying. Good part in this is that if you want ice cold beverages, you can set this at 30 and rock and roll, because the next setting up that is not freezing is 40 degrees. So while I'm disappointed in the video wise that these didn't come out frozen, I think it's good news for anyone who's going to use this as a beverage cooler, because you can set it at 30 and have ice cold beverages. At this point in time, I think we're going to switch over to the DC power and check out the heat. So we removed the cold water from the inside just to see what's happening here. And if you open this up, it actually feels warm. While the temperature here says 72, I'm assuming that that's a little bit slow because this was frozen before. If you had something warm in here that you could warm up everything around it, I think it would warm the whole thing a little faster. That's not the goal though. We really want to see if you had something in here as a cooler, how fast is it going to warm this up? Is it meant for that again? I'm not sure. I think this is more of a get it warm, put something that's warm in there and it'll keep it warm. But we set the stopwatch at 70 degrees. So we're going to see how long it takes to go from 70 to 130, 140-ish. If we look over on our power station, we're taking about 41 to 44 watts is what this is actually taking to heat, which I think is quite low. So that's interesting. So when you put a 18 volt battery in here, if it's running 18 volts or if it's converting to 12, that's not a lot of draw, which is surprising to me for a heating element. Let's sit back and see how long it takes to get up to temp. So we're almost exactly 1 hour in and we made it to 132 degrees inside, with me opening this up every once in a while to feel how warm everything was getting in there, which lost a couple of degrees. You got to picture this as more of an oven. I think the outside of this has been about the same temperature the whole time. It's just a matter of heating the air on the inside, and we don't have anything in it to help warm it or to help slow that. So if we would have kept, I think, these colder water bottles in there, it would have taken much longer. I don't believe this is going to be something that you're going to use to heat up your lunch per se, unless you have a very, very long time. So if you wanted to put something in here that was cold and you had 8 hours or 4 hours to put it in and let it warm it up, it definitely would. But better yet, I think this is going to be, hey, I'm going to go buy some chicken wings somewhere and we're going to eat an hour, hour and a half later. I'm going to throw them in here and they'll stay warm and we're good. I think that's more of where this is going to be. The warming, you have two temperature settings, which is going to be 130 or 140. I mean, that's not crazy warm, but it does work well. You can see we have bumped up 1 more degree here. I love it. This is something that is really cool in my mind, and it allows you to do a lot of different things, but there are some limitations to it. Not going to be something that's going to heat something up for you, but it will keep it warm. It's really not going to be something that's going to cool something down for you quickly, but once you have something cool, it definitely will keep it really cool, and it will freeze things, although I would want to have it set at 15 degrees and not borderline at 30, and then I know it will freeze it. This water that we have here is still very, very cold, and that was set at 30. There is a lack of adjustability when you get close to freezing, and to be dead honest, I'm happy that I can put things in here and know that at 30 degrees I'm pretty good. I wouldn't leave it set there like overnight if I had the opportunity, but I know that I'm pretty good to put my beer or anything in here at 30 degrees, let it rock and roll for 6-8 hours, take it out, and just enjoy having very cold stuff. I'm super interested in what you think. What's your comments? Leave them below, and we'll keep doing more testing on this and kind of give you an idea what it'll do in different situations. But in this case, I think it gives you a great idea of what it'll actually do over time. As always, please give us a like in this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks for your time. Have a great day.